Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of Introduction to HTML5 and CSS3. Again, I'm your host Douglas Tondrew, and in today's lecture I'm going to introduce you to text editors. All right. So text editors are very different from a Microsoft Word or a Microsoft WordPad, being that when you use a text editor, you can actually program and design it to do whatever it is that you would like it to do. So if you wanted to write a program in PHP, HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, or create something in Python, you could actually use a text editor to make that happen. So today I'm going to introduce you to the top most popular text editors that most web developers still use today. So the first text editor that I'm going to introduce you to is Notepad++. Okay, Notepad++ is a very powerful text editor that most programmers still use today. Here is what the application will look like once you have successfully downloaded it, and you will be able to write anything that you would like to write inside of the application. So how do I download the application on my Windows machine? In order to download Notepad++ on your Windows machine, you can simply use this link here, notepad-plus-plus.org, okay, and it will bring you over to the website of the developers of Notepad. And you will notice that there are multiple iterations of Notepad that have been released by most of the developers. You simply will click on the download section. Okay. From there, you will be able to download Notepad++ 7.4.1. I highly recommend that you download the latest version because it is probably the most stable with all the plugins that is necessary. Notepad++ does a very good job at keeping things updated. Okay. Depending on the type of machine you have, you'll download the x86 architecture or the x64 architecture. The real difference between them, x86 doesn't support as much memory. x64 supports a whole lot more memory. Okay, you will simply click on the download link to download it. Okay, you would save the application. It would download itself as an exe file. Once it's done, you're going to click on run. Okay, and then you're going to get a screen that's going to pop up that's going to look like the following. Then you're going to click OK, and you're going to get the Welcome to Notepad++ v7.4 setup because that's the latest version. Then you're going to click Next, I agree, and Next. Okay, and if you want, you can put a check mark on localization. Basically, what that does is it saves and installs your most favorite languages. Actually, that's not what the localization does. Yes, I think that's what that piece does. So localization basically allows for you to store different languages. If you speak English, Danish, or French, or German, you can actually select localization so that way it can recognize those languages. Then we're going to click Next. Then you're going to get three options that you can select. You can put a check mark to create a shortcut on your desktop for Notepad++. You can put a check mark to allow plugins to be loaded from AppData/Notepad plugins. So these are all the various plugins that Notepad++ comes with to support you as a developer and a programmer as you write your code. Okay. You can also put a check mark on don't use AppData. Enable this option if you would not like for that to happen. But given that we've allowed plugins in AppData, we want to make sure that we check one or the other. For me, I'm going to allow plugins. Then I'm going to click okay. Then you would click Next. But given that and download Notepad++. So given that I already have Notepad++ in my machine, I was not able to basically download it again. And once you click Finish, this is what your Notepad++ will look like. It is a very simple download that many of you can do. Okay. Here is the catch that I will let everyone know about Notepad++. Notepad++ is a Windows machine. Okay. It does not support nor does it work on a Mac machine. If you look at the recommended, it is recommended for Windows 10, 8, 7, XP, and Vista. So you cannot use Notepad++ on a Mac machine. Again, remember this is a class on HTML5 and CSS3, so I'm going to show you how to get text editors on both Windows and Mac platforms. Now, let's come to our next text editor, Sublime. Okay, Sublime is another very powerful and heavily used text editor that is used a lot by most developers. Okay, so the beauty about Sublime is the following. Okay, it has platform compatibility, meaning that Sublime works on both Windows and Mac machines. Given that I just showed you how to download Notepad++ on a Windows machine, what I'm actually going to do now is show you how to download Sublime on a Mac machine. Okay, so how do we download Sublime on our Mac machine? So in order to download Sublime on our machine, all we have to do is actually go to the Sublime website. And here we are on the Sublime website on my Mac. Okay, then I'm going to simply go to download. Okay, and then it's going to say which version or would I like to download Sublime Text for. Do I want it for OS X, Windows, or Windows 64-bit, Ubuntu, or Ubuntu 32. I do not have a Linux environment, nor do I have a Windows environment in my Mac. So I'm going to click OS X 10.7. Remember, it must be OS X 10.7 or later, or Sublime Text will not work. Then you're going to get the DMG disk file, and you're going to open it. Okay, and it's going to download and set itself up on your physical machine. Okay, and once it downloads, you're going to get the little disk that's going to open, and you're going to get the Sublime Text application. You can simply double click on Sublime. Okay, and once the application opens up, you will be able to start programming in Sublime. Sublime does the same exact thing that Notepad++ does. Only difference being is Sublime is compatible with both platforms and is a little bit more advanced in its feature and what it supports. So here we have what your Sublime will look like. Yours will be blank because we would not have written any code inside of the Sublime yet for it to support anything. So Sublime, again, is a powerful tool that you can use if you would prefer to have your code work on both platforms based on the application that you are using. So Sublime works on both Windows and Mac OS X machine. So it is highly recommended that you use a Sublime Text or Notepad++, which is a very powerful and cool application to use. Okay, so those are the two text editors that we have basically started talking about that will allow you to do a lot of cool things. Okay, so let's go back to our original presentation so we can kind of see exactly what's going on. Okay, so now that we know how to use Sublime, let's look at some other text editors that you can still use today. Okay, Text Wrangler is another text editor that you can also decide to utilize if you would like to have a different text editor. Text Wrangler works on both platforms, being that it is supported on both Windows and Mac machines as well. The only drawback to it is it's a little bit different, so you want to definitely be mindful of the process on when deciding to go with a Text Wrangler. Okay, so to download Text Wrangler, you would basically use the same exact system that I kind of just showed you. You would click on the link here. Once you click on the link, you will be brought to their website. Okay. Upon going to their website, you will simply go to, let me see here, let me go back and Google this, download. Okay, you will basically be brought here and you will be able to basically download the disk image for Text Wrangler. I'm sorry about that. Text Wrangler actually is a Mac only text editor. Okay, it is not supported on both platforms. It only works for Macs. I think I accidentally said earlier that it supports both platforms. No, only Sublime works for that. Again, Text Wrangler is another Mac OS X text editor that you can use for developing on your Mac or iPad. Okay. The next text editor I'm going to introduce you to is Vim. Okay, Vim is another powerful text editor that is heavily in use today by a lot of developers. Okay, so Vim is available for many different systems, and there are several versions of Vim. Okay, so Vim is a very highly configurable text editor for creating various different types of text. Okay, so if you want to download Vim, you could simply click on this website here that I provided you with, and you will be able to specify what you would like to download Vim for. Okay, upon going to this website, you would specify if you wanted it for, let's go to downloads actually, Vim. I'm trying to find the executable here. So for Veeam, where is the executable for Veeam? Let me actually go home, download again, Unix. All right, there we go. So details and options, if you're using a Linux machine, you can click on the Unix and you could download it for the Unix. All right. If you're using a Windows machine, you can click on the Windows and download the exe for it right here. Okay. If you're using an Macintosh of some sort, you can just use here to basically download the image. Okay. So that is how you can set up and download Veeam. The next text editor I'm going to introduce you to is another one that is heavily used by most developers, and that is Atoms. Okay, Atoms is another powerful text editor that is heavily in use. All right, and the beauty about Atom is, okay, it's a very powerful text editor that allows for you to set up on various platforms. Okay, so here is Atoms. Again, it's only for Windows. It does not work on both platforms. If I want to download it, I would simply click on Download Windows 64-bit installer for Atom. All right. And I can read a little bit about it. Atom is a text editor that's modern, approachable, yet hackable to the core. A tool you can customize to do anything but also use productively without ever touching a config file, which makes it very powerful. And as we go through this class, I will get deep into what a lot of those text editors essentially end up becoming about. Okay, and this is what you will go through to kind of download Atom. So Atom is very special because it kind of has some form of a JVM in it. It allows you to work with the DOM. It allows you to create certain folders, manipulate the folders without really doing any harm or destruction to your physical machine. Okay, so you will really be able to decide which platform you would like to go with, right? As I could see, this is what Atom looks like once you download it. All of your files will be in your source, and you can specify exactly what you want to download. And if you're into learning more about it, okay, once it's done downloading, all right, you basically will get the page that looks like this. You can open a project, you can choose a theme, you can hack a script, add a snippet. So if you wanted to open a project, you can specify what you're going to title and call the project, and then basically use it to create JavaScript, PHP, Java files, etc. Okay, Atom is another very powerful tool that you could use to kind of get some very cool things done for the most part. Okay, so you will have to decide which text editor you would rather or prefer to use. Do you want to stick with Notepad++ for the course, Sublime, Text Wrangler, Veeam, or Atoms? My recommendation being that this course only focuses on HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and PHP, to stick to Notepad++ or a Sublime. I would download Atom as a backup because as we get more advanced into the course, we will start to use a little bit more sophisticated IDEs and development tools. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of the course. I hope you join me next time to continue this lecture for part 3 when I introduce you to HTML5 structural and semantic elements.